Whew. Good evening, gamers. It is your slightly and most likely a little bit friendly neighborhood gamer awesome here 2003. And today, you're probably wondering why I'm not doing a live stream today. I wanted to make this video, highlighting the fact, you know, as the name of the title suggests, that there are just some days where I think, being the skin color that I am, being black, is a curse to me. And I'm gonna tell you why it's mainly a curse sometimes. And you guys, you don't have to take my word for it, and you don't have to think that, oh, this guy's basically trying to radicalize, being black in a society like this. Oh, this guy's basically woke and stuff like that. It's not like that. I'm not trying to make everybody think that being black is terrible. There isn't much things bad with being black. I'm just thinking that um, I'm just saying that there are just times that I'm just not usually comfortable with being black, but I'm basically born as a black person with, autism, and just saying things are very redundant. It sucks. It sucks sometimes. And usually why I say that is because there's just moments out there in the real world that and I'm mainly talking about in the political spectrum, that you know being black, you're just oppressed by the white man, or just thinking that the white people are just just thinking they're oppressing you to basically make you feel horrible about being black. And I have seen a lot of videos on that. Don't worry. I have seen a lot of videos. I've done a lot of research, and there are just sometimes that, again, like the video suggests, there are just times where I just think being black is a curse because, just being stereotyped and, just thinking that, in life, people are not going to like black people like me, and that is okay. But sometimes deep down inside, it's not really okay with me because, I don't want to, be like the type of person that goes out and harms white people. I don't want to harm anybody, but most of the times, people might look at me and they might think that I'm the type of person that might actually harm them. They might think that I'm these sort of street thugs, or a gangster, or someone who basically says twin, and have this little gangster talk going on. But I only use it for mainly for entertainment purposes, just to be a little bit funny. But in reality, I'm not funny at all. I'm literally corny. I'm just a corny guy that doesn't really just make. I'm just a corny guy that just makes the same freaking jokes about, oh, the chicken sandwich this, chicken sandwich that. I can't come up with any original jokes once in a while. But, you know, but that's not what I'm basically talking about. What I'm talking about here in this video is that there are just sometimes, not every single day, that I think, waking up and people just, hate black people like me and having that sort of mindset. No, this is not a video about that. It's a video about just highlighting the facts that me going through things as a black person, having autism and having these very strong impulses and very strong emotions, you know, having very high emotions than anybody else, being passionate about things that I really stand on and standing on most morals that I have. But usually sometimes I'm not usually proud of who I am as a person. There's just sometimes that I am proud, and sometimes I'm not proud of, being black. And again, this is not a video, just bringing down black people. This is not a video, me bringing down other people who look like me. I'm just telling you, like sort of issues that I don't really talk about that goes on in my personal life, what goes on behind the cameras and stuff like that. Um, Also, if you guys didn't know, this is my cat that I'm rubbing on. If you haven't known that, my cat is a little bit much of my emotional support, honestly, because I do be, having some sort of like, sadness or something like that. Like after the end of my streams, there are times where I'm proud of like, having these sort of subscribers and stuff like that. And I'm very proud of having a family like you guys. Like you guys are the reasons why I keep on living and making these sort of videos. And that you guys are the reasons why I don't really want to like, you know, not trying to get this video taken down. You know, alt effing my existence, just to be gone from society, just to disappear like a magic trick, permanently disappear whew, like a magic trick. I just think that, you know, living this life, living in like a society like this, I know that not every day that, being black is horrible. No, it's not usually horrible for me. There's just sometimes that, like, there are just these things that I do and these mistakes that I made and the things that I say that, if I offend somebody that thinks that I'm basically, being harsh on them, you know. I didn't want it to feel like I'm that type of guy, but I'm just like, stating the obvious and saying like common sense. But again, like I said before, there are just some times where like, usually, being black and being the skin color that I am right now, it's not usually the prettiest. And there are just some times where, it's not really like, not really the best for me. Here are some examples. Like I said before, you know, being somebody who like, may people think that I'm like in a gang or something like that. Or just talk the way how I talk around other people. And the reason why I do that is because I just wanted to like, try to like fit in with the rest of the black people because like they have they sort of like language that they speak, having they sort of ways on like, how like most black people would speak, about I don't know if how am I supposed to say it as an example, like um man, welcome to the hood or something like that, or something like maybe something similar to that. But again, I'm not really like informed of like, my other black side because, I most people would say I kind of do act white. And yeah, I do act white if you guys are wondering, whatever that means, because I'm just speaking normally instead of just speaking like somebody who basically, drinks vodka or something like that, or drinks lean, whatever black people do. Because like I'm not usually like in touch with most of the things that black culture does, because I'm just not usually like, lean into like my blackness, I would say. I'm just not like the type of person who leans into that. I just wanted to like, wanted to fit in with just the rest of the people in society. But, usually sometimes I just don't need to fit in. There's just times I don't really want to fit in. And there's just sometimes that, you know, me saying that like, oh, you just need to be yourself. Just be yourself. Yeah, that's a great thing. But sometimes I just hate the fact that I don't want to be feared by other people, thinking that I'm going to like, take somebody's life, As you can see from like most of the very much news reports about certain things that are going on, how black people are like, getting more and more violent towards white people as the days go on. And I just didn't want it to fall into that same category. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like being black. It's that one reason why I just don't want to be black, because most people might think that, oh, you're just the same. You just like, you just like this and sort of that. You like guns, you like, shooting up people cribs and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to fall into that sort of category, honestly. All I just wanted to do was just, just try to be friends with people and just, try to like build connections with a lot of people. And because like, there are just times where I just feel alone. I have a very major fear. And I don't really tell this to everybody, and not especially my community. I don't tell anybody um, that there's just days that I just feel alone. Like, just having nobody else to speak to, nobody else to talk to. And even though my parents wanted me to talk to them if I have these sort of issues, I really want to, but I just don't know, because I my parents will kind of just say the exact same thing. It just, feels like it's a broken record. It just feels like a broken record. That's why I usually don't really say much things about these things, and just like, just keep things to myself, because I don't want anybody else to feel like they're having a bad day, or just like, wanting to come across my videos and like, oh, this guy seems like he having a great day. I'm glad that he's making my day and stuff like that, which I really appreciate. And I just didn't want it to like, uh, make their day even worse by just spewing out negativity and stuff like that. And, bringing things into the atmosphere, just to make them feel like even worse or any of that type of stuff. I don't want people to come to my channel thinking that way. What I do on this channel is that I'm just a gamer who just wants to, like, make friends, wanted to actually have a good relationship with people, and just wanting to be very understanding towards others. Um, I joke, I laugh, I suppress my trauma and stuff. And what I mean by trauma is that, there's just some things that, like, me having a disability makes it a traumatic thing. I think having like autism is like a traumatic thing sometimes, and I'm not usually proud of, like, being autistic and, like, saying things over and over again. And it kind of just, makes me feel bad for myself and for others who basically, want somebody to like inspire them and stuff. I like to inspire a lot of people. That's why I made this channel, for a reason, to like do gaming and, like, inspire people to do gaming as well. Just to build their own communities, having their own sort of community, family, or whatever you call other channels and stuff like that. And, there's just some other black creators out there who basically, have their sort of huge fan base. And I'm basically just like, a person with a small majority of a fan base, Um, Cause like I can't be like other black content creators. I can't be like, the Corey Kenshin of the YouTube community. I don't want to be like the Markipliers, the Jacksepticeyes, the Dan TDMs, all those beloved content creators that are loved and appreciated, and that, they just get the audience, and that they can relate to the audience. Usually, sometimes I can't really relate to most of my audience as well, because I don't really tell much about these things. Just tell, how I feel personally. Because, like, I don't really tell others about like my past and stuff, because I want to leave my past behind, because I thought I was a changed man. Like, I wanted to change for the better, and I believe that there is change in society. That change is possible. But going back to the whole, being black is a curse thing. I've grown up, feeling like I'm just a sheep in my own community. And what I mean by my own community is the black community that I separated myself long time ago. I separated myself from the black community long time ago. Um, just growing up, just feeling like, you're this sort of weirdo, like, having these sort of things that you like, da da da, can't really interact with people. And like, because I was very much the quiet kid in class that doesn't really say much and don't really like interact with most people and, doesn't really say much, just having their mouth shut. That, because like, um, I just didn't know that I had autism at the time, and as a kid, I just feel like I don't know what has been wrong with me, and having these sort of behaviors, in preschool, I usually hide in like the auditorium every time when I'm like, you know, going through like an emotional breakdown because I've had emotional breakdowns in my past. Like going to the auditorium just to like feel alone and stuff like that, just have a quiet space whenever I'm not at the house or just, separated from my family and stuff. I guess everybody else felt that sort of way when they were a kid. Like, you don't want to go to school because you don't want to feel separated from your parents and stuff, that sort of thing. I know I can relate to most people on that sort of topic, but going back to what I'm saying before, being a guy with autism, it has its pros and cons. One pro about like, being autistic is like I just see the whole world differently and I, see everything around me pretty much differently and stuff. And I don't really like, have the same mindset as everybody else, but of course that goes for everybody in this world, honestly. I mean, I have morals. I'm a Christian and stuff. And I don't really, talk much about my Christianity because even though I said like I hope you're having a very blessed day because I want everybody to like know that they are worth it. Because there are just some times where I just think that I'm not worth it at all. And there are just sometimes I think that like maybe I don't really have much of a purpose. And usually during those types of times, I don't really know how to express these sort of feelings because I've had them kept away from others, like my family and stuff, just suppressing my own feelings, just like, not wanting to have all these like negative things be put out in the atmosphere and stuff. But you know, going back to what I'm saying before, up until like my childhood when I figured out that I had autism, is that like, my doctors would say that I would just be mentally retarded for the rest of my life. I won't say I love you to my parents. I won't be able to speak anymore. I'll just, be a silent person. Like, I'll just be a quiet individual that doesn't really have a mind of its own and don't really like, think freely and stuff. Speak how I feel and just having my own opinions and stuff like that. And I basically carried, that weight on my shoulders a lot. That maybe my doctors were right. That maybe I was born to be mentally retarded. That basically having autism makes me, mentally retarded and stuff like that. And I'll, never be able to, be the person that I am today, And honestly, I'm glad that I've proven my doctors wrong on that. I've proven my doctor wrong. But, you know, that same thing that just, that it stuck with me for a while up to like, my high school years. And high school wasn't really easy for me and I was very 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 awkward in high school. I basically, been like the class clown, the nuisance of the whole school, the laughing stock and stuff like that. I was fit into all those sort of categories. And this is when I wasn't like, you know, informed with my Christianity. Like I wasn't really serious about my Christianity until now, until like a certain incident that I'll get to later. Don't worry, I will get to that later. High school wasn't even that bad. Mostly, there are a lot of issues that I've had, during my years in high school. There's just sometimes that like I'm usually bullied for having autism because I was bullied in high school for having autism and I'm not really proud of it, and I basically have those feelings where like, maybe being black and having autism isn't really worth it for real. And it kind of just, brings my self-esteem down a lot, and I've always, I don't really have that much confidence in myself. I say that basically I'm just, it's big me, and all that type of stuff, just hyping myself up, getting some of that good old confidence that everybody should have, learn how to love yourself and mostly those things. Like there are just some days that it just feels like that, and it just feels that like, maybe the people who bullied me had a justification to do so because, I mean, I'm just a silly guy who cannot be taken serious and stuff. And I'm not really much serious because I just wanted to like, just wanted to, see people smile and like make people laugh and stuff. That's what I do sometimes, because like the reason why that uh being the type of guy that I am outside of like, my YouTubing career, just being funny, not as funny, as a comedian, but like just being funny just to my family alone. I may say some things that might actually, tick some of my parents off a little bit, but it's not in that sort of way. It was a joke. I just like making jokes just to make people laugh. I try to do all these things because I'm just suppressing, all the negative stuff about myself being autistic and stuff and, just being black in general. I make those sort of things because, I make these sort of jokes and that's just the reason. And there's just sometimes I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it at all. I'm not. And I do like to be taken serious sometimes, even when I'm not usually joking most of the time. And I there are some moments where I basically like to like wanting to see the best for others, but like why would I want to see the best for others if I don't see the best in myself? That's what my parents always taught me. See the best in yourself before you start seeing the best in everyone else, and like starting to help out others, help out yourself before you help out others. And I didn't want to be selfish like that, and I never want to wish to be selfish towards anybody because I just think that I don't want to be the type of person who doesn't care about any sort of people because I love people. I love to like, just I just like I like people. I like to be around people and like, just doing a lot of these different things with people I don't even know, and like I really really want to be around these sort of people. I want to be around good people. People who actually like me and doesn't want to use me for any political agenda. Like seriously, man. I just want people to just like the way how I am instead of just like, saying that like, oh, this is like black fatigue and stuff like that. It was like every single black person has black fatigue. We're just tired of every single black person doing all these sort of things, just shooting, killing, robbing, stealing, and all that sort of stuff. And I just feel like every time when I just keep hearing those type of words that like, oh, there's a woke black feminist BS and all that type of stuff or whatever these political people say nowadays, I I don't want to fall into that category. I want people to like feel comfortable being around someone like myself. And there are some things I want to get personal on. And even though it may feel uncomfortable to a lot of people who is on my channel, who's like, been a part of my community like for the past years now, I don't want to like drag them away for like, just expressing how I really feel on the inside that like, being black isn't all bright, shining colors. Most times people always bring up the past and slavery and stuff. I don't want people to keep doing that type of stuff. I don't want that. I don't want to think that, like, why would you hate your own self as a black person? If you like these sort of people, like, why do you like these people if they don't like, black people? Why do you like them if they hate black people? The the reason why, and the reason why I do this to like sort of people who like hate black people like myself, I do this because I just wanted to see the best for them. I want to see the best in everybody. And even though most people say you have to see the best in yourself before you see the best in others, and like, help yourself before you help anybody else, which I get, it's valid. It's very valid, but I just don't want to do it to the point where it just seems selfish. I don't want to seem like, a selfish human being. Like, I grew up with a family that loves me a lot, that basically wants the best for me, and just, very protective of me because me being very autistic and stuff like that. And who knows what type of dangers I might approach in my future, but I just have to take it head on. But, you know, just and going back to like another sort of thing that I haven't really told much about, myself, or haven't been honest. During like high school, I've had sort of like these, mental problems, like just like crashing out on most of my therapists, and like people who are trying to help me, have control over your own emotions and stuff. Just sometimes I'm just, it's not usually seem that way. And, there's this one time that, it got to the point where I was in a mental hospital, and I was trapped in that mental asylum for a couple of days or for a week or something like that. Maybe 2 weeks. I don't know how long it has been, but I've been there long enough that I've just been separated from my own family, and I've made my brother worried about me, and just I'm just not usually, and I just regret. I regret it to this day that I've done this to I've done this to my therapist and stuff like that. People who genuinely want to see the best for me, and it's really sad about the mindset that I have, that I just couldn't see that I do have like a lot of great people in my life, and there's just sometimes I forget. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of forgetting who I am as a person. I'm afraid of just being alone again, and like I've worked so hard and I've worked so far to what I am right now, and I just don't want to fall into that same mindset that I had when I was in high school. It was terrible for me. But doing these sort of things, it just makes me feel like I'm slowly being pulled back to my old ways. As a Christian right now, I just had those moments. I've had those moments, and I really don't want to keep it away from anybody else. And I just wanted to be honest. I want to be honest with everybody. I want to be, an honest person. You know, gains more trust. If you're being honest with me about who you are as a person, if you're being honest with the type of people around you, you become an honest man. That's why I want to be. I want to be honest with everyone. I want to be honest with the closest people in this community. And I just don't want to think that like I'm this perfect being. I'm like a sort of saint, that I'm like on the same tier as like all of these great content creators, all these like, these the Corey Kenshin, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, Dan TDM, Stampy Cat, you know, any positive influencer. I can never be on that same tier because like, there's nothing unique about me. There's nothing really special about me, honestly, when it comes to content creation. Like, I'm just a gamer who just does gaming and that's it. I'm not really as funny as anybody else. But going back to what I keep getting sidetracked on, you know, ever since when I was in that, mental hospital, just being treated like a patient that like, has done these insane things like, okay, here's your pills. And like, just being fed these sort of things, being treated as like this sort of, crazy patient. Like I tried to like, have an interaction with most of them and it just feels like they just don't really care. They don't really care about me. And I kind of took it as such. And there was this one incident when I was there that I wanted to leave this earth. And not saying the other word to get this video demonetized or whatnot. Uh, just I just wanted to just disappear off of this, just disappear in general, not to be seen again, not to be seen by anybody else because I'm not a perfect person like all these great content creators, like I keep bringing these people up. Like, I'm no different, I'm not special, I'm not a great person. You're just like every other black person out there in the world. And it just feels like I've just lost all hope in myself. That I really think that, is this my life now? Is this where my life has actually come to? Like throughout my years of living in high school, it come to this? Being alone again? It's already hard enough that I never had a childhood friend or having anybody special in my life in my childhood. Now I now I'm just starting back from square one. And guys, I'm not usually acting. This isn't an act. I'm really genuinely being serious about the things that I say and what I mean I say. And I say what I say. I just really just given up all hope ever since when I was, in that place. But ever since, like, I've felt God's presence, I've really wanted to make a difference for my life and just change and stuff. I've been getting better with, like, handling my emotions, handling sort of situations that could get me upset and stuff because I had anger issues a lot and I talk loudly when I, like, I'm very passionate or when I get angry and stuff like that. Like, I have became the person who I am because of Christ. And I'm very glad that he got me through high school and, not really like, wasting my own life or like how most people are because, mental health is really serious. And I was going through those times because I was always constantly battling with my psychological thoughts, even when I sleep. There are just days where I feel that way. But there are just some days where I just have to remind myself that life is important. There are a lot of good people out there in the world. There's a lot of great things that you haven't really seen, and you can see them for yourself and not waste your life. And just being forgotten by the world. I mean, if there's one thing I have to say, if I ever do, like, if I ever leave this earth or something like that, or if I ever leave this place to go meet, my Father, my Holy Spirit, my holy man, the man upstairs, God, just if I ever meet God, if I ever leave this earth, I want everybody to know that they are worth it in this world, and that deep down inside, I love them. I love them. I love the people that I don't even know. I love meeting new people. I just love everyone. I really do love everyone. And again, it's really hard to have these sort of expressions and stuff like that because, you know, I've never been the type of guy to have these sort of expressions like ah, 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 or something like that. Like you see that I've always have a straight face and like you thinking I don't really take none of this serious and what I say to heart. But deep down inside, I really do love everyone. I love the world as, how God basically loved the world. I'm not Jesus, I'm not a Messiah, I'm not any of that type of stuff. I'm not even a saint, and I don't want to be a saint. I don't want to be perfect at all. I just want to feel like I can be accepted as a human. And that's why there are just days where I think that being black is a curse. Sometimes in my life I think being black is a curse. Going back to what I said about all the stereotypes, all the things that black people do, and all these habits that black people have, and the sort of food that black people eat. That's the reason why I don't really eat chicken much. I don't really eat chicken from the bone because I don't want it to be falling into that same category as other blacks. My brother basically likes barbecue chicken. My dad likes chicken as well. Sometimes, I don't know about my mom, but maybe she likes chicken too. I don't know. Maybe I need to ask her about that, but that's the reason why I usually don't have like these sort of like favorite foods that black people eat because I have like sort of food habits that I like eating and stuff, you know. But again, this isn't a video to make you guys feel bad about, being black. If you guys love being black, then that is amazing. God bless you and hopefully God, keeps on showing you that being black in a world like this is worth it. It doesn't matter what type of skin color you are still worth it in this world. But you just gotta have like some sort of moral standards and have like common sense and stuff. That's why I like to invite people to like my channel if they really respect my morals, because how can I be mad at somebody if they've never really done me wrong or any of that sort of thing. That's why I rarely have hatred towards anybody or just have hatred towards the people who are kind of racist towards people like me. I don't really have hatred towards them, even though most people would kind of disagree that like, hey, you're supposed to really hate racist people, honestly, because you can't let races roam around freely in the world. And you cannot, be down by white supremacy, or that's another thing. And that's another thing that keeps me away from black people even further, is that I be hearing black people say about like white supremacy and stuff like that. It's annoying. It's mainly annoying. It usually doesn't even exist, mind you. That stuff usually doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. But overall, guys, the moral of this video, and I'm gonna try to end this video on a high note. I do appreciate a lot of things that go on in my life. I do appreciate a lot of people that I have, made friends with along the way, and that I'm very glad that I've met these sort of people in my life and that I've met, my community, and I love my community. That's why I said that I love and appreciate every single last one of you guys. You guys make me feel loved. You guys, you loved me for who I am as a content creator, and I love you guys for being who you guys are. And You know, I want to like, give hope to a lot of people in this world. I want to be on that, um, I wanted to be on that sort of pedestal like, other famous content creators. I wanted to be like on the same level as them, but no matter how much I try, I won't. I'll never be on the same level as these amazing content creators. I'll never be on the same level as like these sort of like, black artists or whatnot. I'll never be on the same like level as anyone else. And you know, even though I've always need to have like, confidence that I could be. That's the sort of thing that there's just sometimes that I just don't have confidence in myself. It's like every day I just think negatively. But if I have a lot of people in my life, I won't have to think negative about me because I have people to remind me of who I am as a person, for what I stand for, and what my views are. But yeah, guys, like I said, I'm gonna try to end on a high note. You guys are the best thing to ever come within my own life. Not saying that my family isn't. I love my family. I do. I really do. And I will, protect my family to the ends of the earth, you know. But you guys are another reason why I still, think that, maybe being black isn't a terrible thing. Maybe living in a society where, there are just some people out there who are just blatantly racist, who don't really like black people. And I'm just glad that there are just some black people who are, what I'm saying, just make me feel worth it. They make me feel like I'm worth something. But there are just some times where I need to learn that I need to know that I'm worth it. I need to know that I'm basically worth it in this life. I don't need anybody else telling me that I'm worth it. I need to know for myself that I am worth it. But you can have both, but you have to like work on most of these things. You have to work on like, work on a lot of things, just to get like, validation from other people and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, guys, I really wanted to make this video just to open up about like, where I basically came from, like how I am back then to how I am right now. And I'm very proud and I'm blessed to be, still be alive to this day and having God to like, help me get through these sort of things, help me get through life and stuff like that, even though I may not be in a relationship, and who knows if I'll ever be in a relationship again. And if I could like, um, not try to lose another relationship again because I'm still already going through, you know, a bit of depression here and there due to my relationship because I felt like that relationship was so real to me. Like I've done things like I've never once done in my life when I was in an actual relationship. Like, going out, doing dates, going to fun places, going to events and stuff like that. Going to people's houses, enjoying their families and stuff. Never really like have any of those experiences, and I've really wanted to feel those experiences one last time with my other relationship, but I know I have to move on since she's moved on and I've moved on myself. I can't be stuck in the past again. I have to keep moving forward. I gotta keep my head up even though I always have my head down. But yeah, guys, if you've made it this far to the video, just whew, God, this is a lot. This is a lot. I swear this is a lot. But if you guys made it far to this video, then I really appreciate that. Like I said before, you are loved, you are appreciated. You don't have to feel bad for like, you know, being the sort of skin color that you are. And this is not a video to like radicalize, you know, being black and stuff like that. I'm just bringing up what most other black people don't talk about without trying to offend anybody, you know? Um, but yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you guys have a very great and amazing rest of your day. I hope God, you know, gives you a lot of things that you deserve, and that he gives you the life that everybody deserves, and that he'll watch over all of you guys as a community. And I hope for the best for you, and hopefully you guys have the best for me. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notification bells. That way you're notified as soon as I post a new video. I'll try my best not to actually do another video like this, or this will probably be the only video that I'll do in the near future. But who knows? If I ever feel like doing a video like this, I'll let you guys know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a very amazing day. Stay blessed, stay healthy. Gamer is out. Peace.